Today I will show you how to use the motion blur in Photoshop. So let's start. Hi guys, my name is Nemanja Sekulic and welcome to another fun episode. Today we will have a lot of fun using a motion blur. So let's jump straight into Photoshop and let's the fun begin. Alright guys, this is the first image for today and we will use the motion blur to emphasize the speed of this vehicle here in the scene. So first thing what you need to do when you're using a technique like this is to extract the object out of the background. In this case, it's this vehicle. So I already did that because I don't want you to watch me doing this boring process. I use the pen tool and just trace it all over the car and extract it. If you don't know how to use the pen tool, here is the really great tutorial, everything you need to know about the pen tool. So let's go back to the image. Now that we have extraction of our car, I want to make a copy of a background with Control or Command J. So we have a copy of a background just in case we mess something up. Okay, now we just need to apply a motion blur to this image and we will have that speed effect. But if we apply the motion blur before we remove the car out of the background, we will have some ghosting effect. I will show you that really quickly. Filter blur, motion blur, and if we apply some motion blur here, you can see we will have this ghosting effect around the car because we didn't remove the car out of the background. We just extract the car and copy it to a new layer, but we need actually to fill that background with something else. We need to remove the car out of it. So let me show you how to do that really quickly and easily. Just use the lasso tool and just trace it all around the car like so. Okay, really quickly and easily. And just go to edit, fill, and use content aware from this drop down menu and press OK. Photoshop will automatically calculate, and if you can see, it will fill this with something, and that's really nice for this purpose. Don't worry, yes, it's messy, but don't worry, it will be really good. Let's put the car back in, and now we can blur this, filter, blur, and motion blur, and we don't have that ghosting effect because we have background all around it. Right, I will cancel this and show you the way that I prefer to use a motion blur. It's to convert this layer into a smart object because I will have even more control of the filters. So right click on the layer and just go convert to smart object. That's nice. Now when I go to the filter, blur, and motion blur, I will have the same dialog box here. Let's move it a little bit. And for example, I want to blur it just a little bit. Press OK. And now I can see, okay, it's not so much. I want to even emphasize this blur effect, to even add a little bit more speed to the scene. I don't need to undo anything. I just go here to this smart filters, double click on motion blur, and I just blur it as much as I want. And let's blur it like so. For example, press OK, and that's really nice. That's the benefit of smart objects and smart filters. You can always go back and change some things. Right now, let me show you another blur effect in Photoshop. It's a spin blur, and we will add that spin blur to our wheels to make impression that wheels are actually moving. So let's do that. For that, I will first go to the car layer and convert it to smart object, okay? And now let's go to the filter, blur gallery, and use a spin blur. This spin blur, or actually the whole blur gallery, it's available only in newer version of Photoshop. I think from CS6 and below it's not available, but if you have some earlier version of Photoshop, you will see that really quickly. Alright, now I choose the spin blur and I have this circle and I have spin blur, as you can see, and I want to make this circle smaller. You have these outer points and you have the inner points. Inner points are basically for feathering, and we can feather this if we want, or we don't want to feather this effect. Depends of the situation you're in. You can make this even smaller. Let me see just a second. Yeah, That's really, really nice in some situations. But in this case, we don't need a feather, and let's make this the size of a wheel, like so. Okay, and we will add that spin blur to our wheel. As you can see, it's not bad at all. And we can change the angle to make the speed effect even better. Emphasize a little bit the wheel, it's rotating faster. Now it's really fast, and now it's slower. So we want some middle here, like so. And if we are satisfied with that, we want to make a new spin blur here for this wheel. We can do that in two ways. We can just click here and create another circle and then tweak it to match this wheel, or we can copy this existing circle here by holding Control and Alt key or Command and Option key on a Mac, and just drag this existing circle right here, and it's really, really nice. If we are satisfied with that, just press OK, and we have this motion blur, spinning blur effect in our vehicle. And we can always go back here to tweak it if we don't like it, because we are in smart filters. All right, maybe here this motion blur effect, it's not so visible. I will show you on another image. I will show you here how you can better see that spinning motion blur effect. So let's make a copy of this layer, convert to smart objects, go to the filter, blur gallery, spin. And now let's put it in the center of a wheel. Okay, and let's make this a little bit smaller, like so. And now you can see even better how this wheel is rotating. Let's transform this, actually copy this to, copy this to the back wheel. And yes, I messed something up, but I will fix it really quickly, like so. Okay, let me see, this is really nice. And we need to make this a little bit smaller, like so. And we have impression that this wheel is rotating. All right, that's first thing. We have the outer part of the wheel rotating, and we have really great effect. Now we need to make this part of the tire to be in a moving state. So how to do that? We just use a spin blur, but we cannot use a spin blur here. For this, we will use a pad blur. We have here in a blur gallery filter, we have pad blur, we have tilt shift, iris, or field blur. For this, we will use a pad blur. Just click it right here, check this, and let me show you. You have this tool right here, and you can make a path out of this, like you're making a path in a pen tool. So we can create any kind of path we want with this path tool and have fun with that. Right, let's undo this a few times, and I want to delete this point here. Just press the delete button, and I want to put the starting point right here, the ending point right here, and just tweak this point like so. Let me see, maybe add another point here and just tweak that to follow the direction of the tire. And now we have really, really nice impression that this wheel, it's actually moving. So let's maybe reduce the speed a little bit, something like so, and let's press OK. And let me show you, now we have the whole image completely blurred, but we will add a layer mask here and press Ctrl Command I to invert it, and just use a brush tool, white color, 100% opacity, and I will use something around 50% hardness, and just paint here where you want this effect to be visible, like so. And this is really, really, really nice. And now you have this rotating effect, like this car, it's not moving actually, it's starting to rotate the wheels. Maybe it's holding a brake down and it will like have that quick start. I don't know the English word for that, this fast start. And only the wheels are rotating. We can do that for the back wheel too. We can add that. Let's go back to the blur gallery and add another pad here, like so. Add another point here and just make this, oops, just make this pad blur right here. Okay, and press. Okay, you cannot see here the blur effect because I put a layer mask on it, but I will quickly fix that. I will use my white brush and just quickly paint this out, and now you have impression that this wheel is actually moving too. So we can have fun with this image and add a lot of stuff. We can add some debris here, dust, etc, etc. Let me show you this just really quickly because this is not the part of this tutorial, but I want to show you what you can do with this kind of effect. If you want to know how to add debris to your photos, you can find the tutorial right here. All right, I will do this really quickly. So let's choose one of my debris brush and just choose this color here and just add some debris, maybe a little bit smaller, like so. Okay, and maybe in a new layer choose a little bit darker color for debris, like so, and add even more like here. And now I will blur those debris by using just a regular motion blur, just to blur it a little bit, like so, and the other one too, with a motion blur, like so. And maybe I will just erase this part here and add a new layer and use normal brush with this low blending mode and use this color and add just with 10% opacity, add just some dust right here, like so. And we can always blur this. You will see the effect of that. Okay, go to the filter, blur, and let's use Gaussian blur. Zoom it. Let me see. Just tweak it a little bit just to have the impression that this is really soft sand, small sand here, and that's nice. And let me show you, group this, and let me show before and after. Before and after, you can add a lot of dynamics to your images just by blurring some things and add a little bit more details to it. Alright guys, now let me show you another trick how you can use a pad blur. So let's go to our next image. It is this one right here, and as you can see, I already extracted this track out of the background. As I already did in our first image, I used the pen tool and just trace it all around, and that's it. If you don't know how to use a pen tool, please watch my tutorial about that. So let's go back to our scene here. I will duplicate our background layer with Ctrl or Command J on the keyboard, and now before I remove the track out of the background, I will show you first how to use this filter, blur, and pad blur. Okay, you have few options here. You have this speed, is the speed actually the amount of the blur. Let me show you. Like this. This is the amount of blur you want to apply. You have the taper here. It's basically like a feather of this blur. Then you have a center blur. Center blur, that's, as you can see, the blur is going left from the starting point and right from this ending point. And that's basically, it's going from the center to the left and the right. And if you uncheck this, it will go from the starting point all to the ending point like this. It will go only to this direction from this point. If you go right here, it will be a little bit different, as you can see. All right, that's the center blur. And here you have endpoint speed. If you choose this, and this will be endpoint, and you will change the speed only of that point. Or you can use, let me show you, you can use this red arrow. For that, you can change the direction of the speed of this point, and you can change the amount of the speed. And if you go to this point right here, you can change the speed of that point separately, right? And we can put maybe the speed of this point all the way to the 0, and this point maybe all the way up, or just reduce it. All right, that's how you can tweak the pad blur. So let's cancel this. Let's first remove the track out to the background. Just go a little bit around here, like I did in the first image with the car, and just go now to the edit, fill, and fill it with content aware. Wait a few moments for Photoshop to calculate that and to fill it. And that's really nice for our situation. Yeah, it's really, really nice. Now let's go here and convert this to smart object and go to the filter, blur gallery, and pad blur. So now I will show you how you can use multiple pads for this pad blur to create interesting effect. First, I want this pad to follow the road, something like so. Maybe I can tweak this a little bit more like this, and it's not bad at all, like this. All right, and I want this starting point to be zeroed because I don't want blur right here. I want blur at this ending point, and I will emphasize this a little bit. All right, now we have blur here on this part of the image. In this direction, it's going a little bit up. We don't want that. We want to go like this, and we can just add another path for that. And again, this point I want to be zeroed, and this point here I want to emphasize a little bit blur. And we can fix maybe this part here. Just add another path like this. Maybe you can tweak it like so, and again go to the first point and zero this out and go to this point, and maybe adjust the speed less or more, depends on the situation you're in and the effect you want to achieve. And here maybe we can add another, let's all go from the similar starting point. Again, zero it, and here we can add a little bit more speed. And now if we are satisfied with that, just press OK, and we have really, really nice, you can see really nice motion blur in all directions. It's really, really fun. Alright guys, that's it for today. I hope that you liked this tutorial and that you learned something new out of it. Today I showed you a lot of different ways how you can apply a motion blur in Photoshop, how you can add that speed effect to add some more dynamics to your images. And now it's up to you to practice, to master it, and to have fun with it, applying this effect on your images. So if you have any questions at all regarding to this episode, please leave them in the comments below. I will be glad to answer them. See you next week in the next fun episode. Bye bye.